Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I am Maker400, and over here we have our 4th dungeon of the Dark World. Gargoyle's Domain, or also, I'm not sure if it's Gargoyle's Domain or Thief's Town, but either way, here's our 4th dungeon. That's pretty easy to access, just pull on the pitchfork or trident or 3-pronged utensil. And you can technically actually access this dungeon before you can access it actually before the 2nd dungeon. If you use the warp that's above Kakariko Village. So we have some new enemies. We have those guys down there. They're Daria. I'm gonna say Daria because I don't think it's pronounced that though. But they're alligator. Even though they look more like horsemen, they are alligator men, and they only appear in one other game, which is Zelda 2. And they appear, they're the ones that have the axes and come after you, and actually kind of look more like rhinos. They never look like alligators in any of the games. Cause yeah, I believe they look more like rhinos. You know, they're not rhinos, but you know, especially when you're young, you see a game and you'll look at certain things more. Like they have a little, let's see, they have a little pointed, yeah, they have a little horn-looking thing on their sprites, so they kind of look more like rhinos. But anyway, this dungeon I actually like it, and I actually like the boss of this dungeon. I know he can be hard for some people, but I never had a problem with him. But overall, this dungeon is pretty fine for me. It's a pretty straightforward dungeon. This beginning part's a little maze-like, but you know, it's a pretty easy and simple dungeon. It's actually, you can get through this dungeon fairly fast. Definitely faster than the previous dungeon. So, I recently was reading an article, I believe it was on Kotaku. But anyways, I think someone was asking if he was considered a hoarder. And I believe, though I guess he said they were the ones he considered the best of his collection, but I don't know if that means that the other ones were just like really garbage crap games, or what did he mean by that. But anyway, he said he was cleaning out his building a shelf, and he was cleaning out his house or something, and he had 70 games that he considered you know, good proponents of his collection. Basically, I think most of them were Xbox, but there were 70 games, and his wife said it's disgusting to see how so much wasted money, and my reaction is, okay, if he's a hoarder of video games, then I am clinically insane, because I have almost over 100, maybe even 200 games. So 70 to me is like, that's a lot, but it's not that much at all, to be honest. And secondly, since when has collecting been considered hoarding? I mean, there is hoarding. Hoarding is real. And usually it's, you know, it's like obsessive compulsive hoarding, people who like their whole house is covered in stuff that they won't throw anything away. But having a collection of video games, I mean, I feel people are misusing words, because having collecting things and hoarding things are two different things. You know, it's a whole balance thing. Basically, hoarding is an unbalanced version of collecting, if you want to think of it that way, sure. But you know, having a collection of stamps, having a collection of books, there's nothing wrong with having a collection, as long as it's not affecting your life negatively. If you just have a small collection of stuff, or not even small, if you even have a large collection, but if it's not hurting you financially, and or I mean, if you can still, you know, it's not damaged. I don't know, I'm a whole person on. For me, as long as you have enough to live by, and maybe, you know, some fun stuff. Like for me, having my laptop and some video games, and just, you know, some bare necessities, nothing else I really need. I don't need a huge mansion or anything. But yeah, if you can support yourself financially, and it's not negatively impacting you, and your house isn't covered in stuff, and it's all organized, you know, I just feel, you know, people are misusing that word, because having 60 video games, in my opinion, is not hoarding. And then the guy said, it's not a big deal with music, because he has 30,000 songs or something online, or on iTunes. So my reaction is, okay, so having more songs is not bad because they're not physical. And if you're talking about the fact that, well, you know, when you have a bunch of physical objects lying around, that's, you know, a negative impact to the household. But he doesn't. It's 70 games. It's not even that much. Those red things are called clouds. Kind of a original name, but they are actually supposedly, from what I've read, corrupted anti-fairies. So think about this. Anti-fairies are corrupted fairies, and clouds are corrupted anti-fairies. Yeah. But yeah, I guess my thing is, I see nothing wrong with having a collection as long as, you know, its balance is key. So if it's not a negative, if it's within healthy reason, and you're not like obsessively collecting or obsessively hoarding things, you know, again, hoarding and collecting is to say that having 60 video games organized, calling that a hoard is, no, I'm sorry, that's not a hoard. Is it a lot of money? Yeah, because video games are quite expensive, so yeah, it's a lot of money, but I wouldn't be calling it a hoard. But I don't know, I like to collect things. I think collections are quite cool. I'd actually like to have more for my game collection, but I know, you know, some people see, oh, it's a waste of money. Well, you know what? Waste of money or not, it's if you're supporting yourself financially and it's not hurting you in any way, does it really matter if it's, you know, you can say there's better things to spend it on, but again, I'm kind of a bare necessity kind of guy, and or becoming such, and for me, video games are the one thing I'll splurge on. Well, and computer stuff as well. As you saw, we bombed a small hole in the one room to let light through. That will come into play later. And here we have Zelda telling us about Blind the Thief. If you remember back in the beginning of the game in Kakariko Village, there was a thief named Blind who was evil, and he supposedly had his hideout in this town. So I guess he's in the Dark World now. And since Ganon is a thief, we can only assume that he's like partnered with Blind, or that Blind is his friend, or that Ganon is Blind's friend. But yeah, I guess my thing is, anything is good within moderation. You know, having a collection is fine and good, dandy. Being obsessed with your collection and making, you know, making it affect your life in a negative fashion, you know, that's when it becomes a little bit dangerous. You might want to rethink how you're going about doing things, or if you're, you know, if it's a disorder, you might need some help. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a collection. It's when it goes into dangerous, or if you have a disorder. So I think, personally, I think the wife is, I mean, she has a right to her opinion. I personally think she should be more respectful of her husband's hobbies. And it goes both ways, too. Either way, though, that's not really my opinion, or really my place to say. Now, these blocks, again, I mentioned it, I don't think I should be allowed to lift this at this point. Maybe I can, but I honestly think you need the second glove to be able to make those blocks be liftable. But somehow I am able to lift them, so I'm not going to complain. Doo-doo. So what have I been doing lately? You know, just relaxing before I go back to college. I have about 2 more weeks left of winter break. And I've been playing, I mentioned yesterday I was playing some of my Christmas games. I also recently purchased Lego Star Wars 2. I could have got the complete collection, but I only really care about the original Star Wars games. And hello, maiden. Aren't you supposed to be in a crystal? Key! And yeah, these locks can be broken by the big key. The big key, I guess what's special about it is it doesn't break. It can be used as many times as possible, whereas the small keys, I believe it's mentioned somewhere that they break when they're used. Which means that Hyrule needs a really better locksmith if their keys break every time they're used. But yeah, oh! we got the Titan's Mitt, so now we can lift anything, including those black rocks that are scattered throughout Hyrule, which will come in quite handy in order, because some of the warps to the Dark World are located under those black rocks. But I purchased Lego Star Wars 2 for the GameCube, Wasteland 4 for the Game Boy Advance, which I know some people don't like it, but I honestly think it's one of my favorite Wasteland games. I really like Wasteland 4. And then, oh, she wants to take us outside. Don't you, this is odd. That's not how it usually happens. Well, whatever. I'll go with it. And then Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which I wanted to get for a while because, you know, it's one of the decent 3D Sonic games. The Sonic, personally, I think Sonic Adventure 2 is better than Sonic Adventure. At least it didn't have fishing, and I'm not taking you outside. I'm gonna take you into this light because you are blind, and the light will hurt you. Because if you remember from the story that the thief was afraid of light. Now, you're probably wondering, I thought you said this boss was hard or easy, Mega. Then why am I using the magic cape? Well, I wanted to show it off and show how broken it is because it can make any boss very simple. And B, because I don't think I have any fairies, so I wanted to just make sure I didn't had to restart. That's why I used the magic cape. But then I stopped using it so I could start fighting it normally. Even though, really, I can understand why blind can be difficult. There's so much going on at once, but at least the floor isn't moving. That's all I have to say. At least the floor isn't moving. Hello, Crystal. So that is 4 crystals down, and we have 3 left. And then we can finally head to beat Ganon. Let's see what this maiden has to say. The real maiden, not the fake one. Mega, because of you, I can escape from the clutches of the evil monsters. Thank you! As the wise men sealed the way to the Dark World, the Knights of Hyrule defended them from the attacks of evil monsters. I heard the Knights of Hyrule were nearly wiped out in that battle. You are perhaps the last one to carry out on the bloodline of the Knights. It is ironic that the last one in the line has the potential to become the hero of legend. Surely you can destroy Ganon. Do you understand? Yes. Now, the whole Sealing War, which is basically what this is referencing, the whole Sealing War, or the war to seal the Golden Land. That, I mean, I said that the wise men are referenced to the sages. I don't think they're referenced to the exact sages from Ocarina of Time, though. I think the wise men are a bloodline from the sages and come about later. But when the actual Sealing War happens, I believe is part of the conflict in making a timeline. There's other things in timeline. For example, the Oracle games are always usually a problem because they don't really fit in anywhere. Mostly, I think, I'd say due to Twin Rova being in the game. Anyway, if we pound all the stakes over where over in this area, we will access another heart piece. And actually, we don't have that many heart pieces left. We've gotten quite a bit. If you remember, we get 1 heart container per temple. So we have 3 temples left, I believe, that give you heart containers. So we only have 1 more heart piece or heart container to form with heart pieces, I believe. So yeah, we're nearing the end of making heart containers. And now we're going to get a very useful item. Remember this frog? I think I showed it. There's a frog over here. Now that we can lift those rocks, we can save this frog, and he wants us to go back to Kakariko to his partner. His partner in crime. No, not really. But anyway, if we use the mirror, we can warp him back to Kakariko. Which again, why couldn't we use why couldn't we do this for the mirror or the flute boy? We could have used the mirror for the flute boy and warped him back to Hyrule. Though I guess he didn't have any important items to give us besides. Well, the flute is pretty damn important, and it's actually required. So, but anyway, we can give the Smithy to this to his partner, and now they are back, and they can temper our sword. And if we give them our sword and pay them 10 rupees, they will temper the Master Sword. Now, this is what I mentioned in, they actually alter the Master Sword. The Master Sword is supposedly like the best sword ever, and throughout this game, you actually end up changing the sword. which I guess could also lead to some timeline things, though I think some people think this game is actually the end of the timeline. I'm not going to really go into the timeline, though, because again, it is real because it's been confirmed, at least confirmed that they're developing a timeline now. Originally, of course, there wasn't a timeline when they first made these games, but I believe they are working on trying to form a timeline. And here is a chest, but you can't open it because it is locked. The key's locked inside. But yeah, I'm not going to go in big detail about it because I kind of want to wait before discussing any more timeline theories until Skyward Sword comes out, because supposedly that's the origins of the Master Sword. And if you give this to the Pasta King over here, the middle-aged guy, he will open the chest if you keep it a secret that he is a thief. Kind of a boring life, going from a thief to just sitting in the middle of just a field. But anyway, this is the last magic bottle. That's why I mentioned when that bottle was actually kind of tricky to get. And if we go back to the Smithy's house, we can get the level 3 sword, or the third sword of the game, the Tempered Sword. So this has been Maker400 reminding you to love your llama.